Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon to everyone watching us in different time levels. My name is Irina Prokofiev, and I'm Program Director of Ukrainian Institute, and I'm pleased to welcome you at the second International Forum on Cultural Diplomacy. We had held this forum in 2020 for the first time, but that hadn't been the first forum on cultural diplomacy for us. That was basically the Cultural Diplomacy Forum was the continuation of the tradition that has been established by the Foreign Affairs and Diplomatic Academy named after Hennady Udovenko has established. We decided that we would like to continue this tradition, and it is the second time that we held this forum as a Ukrainian institute together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine. I would like to tell you a little bit of what are we going to be doing throughout the day today. Today we're going to be discussing the issues of cultural diplomacy, how we will be able to work with the global challenges, and how we will help to find solutions to that. We have invited the speakers from the UK, from US, from Poland, from other many countries, and from Ukraine as well, in order to discuss these topics of how to work with disinformation, how to work with cultural decolonization, what to do with gender equality, and how to protect the human rights under the conflicts. I would like to say that the Cultural Diplomacy Forum is first of all the professional platform for the discussion of the contemporary approaches in working the cultural liaisons and improving the collaboration between different countries through the ways of cultural diplomacy. What we are hoping for, that the Forum for the Cultural Diplomacy is going to be the great tradition and is going to be held on an annual basis. Last year we have had our forum established even due to the pandemic. We had it online solely. This year, fortunately, we can allow ourselves to be in hybrid format, so I'm also pleased to welcome all the people who are here today present in our location in Kiev, and I would like to also welcome everyone who's joined us online. I would like to mention that the online broadcast and online streaming is available in 2 languages. On Facebook page it's available, and on the website of Ukrainian Institute, both in Ukrainian and English. So choose the most comfortable language for you. And I would like to thank our partners who made this forum possible: the American Consulate in Ukraine, International Foundation Renaissance, and the Diplomatic Academy named after Hennady Udovenko. Please do not forget, if you're watching us online, you can pose your questions in the comment sections under the streaming. And for everyone here in this room, I would like to ask you to pose your questions to our distinguished speakers after their presentations. We will have our colleagues, we will have the microphones, you'll be able to voice out your questions, and all of our audiences online will be able to hear your questions as well. Not to take a lot of your time, I would like to start with our introductory words, and please welcome the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Dmytro Kuleba. Unfortunately, physically he's not here with us, but I'm sure that he will be with us mentally for all of the time. So let us take a look at his video introduction. Dear friends, colleagues and partners, I'm pleased to welcome all of the participants for the International Cultural Diplomacy Forum. I would like to thank the team of the Ukrainian Institute of Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine for organizing this event, and would like to thank to all of our speakers and guests. Building and creating the positive image of Ukraine all around the world is one of the 6 main priorities for the strategy for the foreign activities of Ukraine that we have established for the first time. The reputation of Ukraine and a positive image of Ukraine abroad is much more than just the brand of the country. In the times of disinformation and the hybrid wars, that is the basis for security and the safety of our country. We are working on the great image of Ukraine, on promoting and creating the positive Ukrainian brand through the soft power measures. Today we have 4 main tasks in cultural diplomacy. First of all, to support our cultural and informational sovereignty, promote added value that Ukraine creates for the world, to empower and enforce and the trust towards our country, to broaden and to promote the awareness on Ukraine as the country of new opportunities. Together with the First Lady office, we have had the founding meeting for Kiev Summit for the First Ladies and Gentlemen. There has been a wide scope event that has established a new international platform for experience exchange and for creating the joint projects in order to resolve humanitarian and social problems. The pandemic has limited cultural activities all around the world, but we have found the new ways to work in the digital and remote formats, and we're trying to broaden our audience both in quality and quantity and geographically. We have created the first informational site, Ukraine.ua, that is available in English, French, German, Arabic and Chinese languages. It has its own pages on Facebook and Instagram. We have initiated the broad international program from BBC and have launched the very first online course on Ukraine at the big international platform Udemy. We had for the first time published the big edition on culinary diplomacy. With the support of the First Lady, Olena Zelenska, we're successfully establishing and launching Ukrainian audio guides in the main museums and in popular touristic routes all over the world. We are continuing improving Wikipedia with honest information on Ukraine. Together with Ukrainian Institute, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we are supporting the political and communicational tasks that our country has with the measures of the public and cultural diplomacy. It gives us the opportunity to speak of those priority topics for our policies, like the reoccupation of Crimea, creating the successful and effective defense system, working with misinformation. In order to be successful in that, we're building this successful collaboration between state businesses, international partners, and the cultural actors all over the world. I'm grateful for support to each and every one of you, and I hope for further collaboration. I wish you the productive work and interesting discussion in the framework of the second International Cultural Diplomacy Forum. We're really grateful to Dmytro Kuleba for his introductory speech, and I would like to pass the floor to our next speaker. Please welcome Stanislav Bachynsky, the Director on Ukraine for the American Thank you very much, dear colleagues. The Renaissance Foundation is a great partner for the Forum of the Cultural Diplomacy, and it's just really pleasant for us, and it's something that really works with us as well, that the main topics discussed at this forum are tightly connected to the priorities of the International Renaissance Foundations of working with disinformation, counteracting disinformation, gender equality, protecting human rights under conflicts. And what is also important for us, that the topic of the cultural decolonization is that the topic that has started to be discussed in Ukraine, especially in the platform of this forum, because the image of Ukraine as the country that is getting out of the imperial ties, the image of Ukraine that is changing, I guess that is something that we should broadcast to the world. And we are sure that Ukrainian Institute with the tools of cultural diplomacy are going to be very successful with doing that. We're also really pleased with not just the topical, but also the overall content of the forum and the growth of the forum that we have seen. We have seen that the content of the forum has changed as well. It really gives us a clearer understanding that Ukrainian Institute, as one of the organizers of the forum, also is developing and growing. It is very important. It is very important for the successful cultural diplomacy. We need to have strong cultural institutions in our country, institutions that will be functioning according to them good governance principles that are open, transparent, democratic, inclusive. And we are sure that this is the way that new contemporary Ukrainian cultural diplomacy should be. So that is why we would like to wish you all the best during the forum, the very interesting and inspiring discussions and the productive ideas that we hope we will leave today's forum with. Thank you. Thank you, Stanislav. I would like to welcome Yaramo Bachynsky, the Director of American Councils for International Education in Ukraine, please. Good morning, good morning, dear ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm really sorry that, unfortunately, unlike my dearest colleague from the International Renaissance Foundations, I will not be discussing topically the content of our today's event that we're going to have. It is the second since the establishment of the Knowledge Transfer Initiative for Public Diplomacy event that has been conducted with the support of the American Embassy to Ukraine, that has been implemented by our organization, the American Councils for International Education. we have been working, and it's almost going to be for 5 years with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We have been working. We can say that for almost 2.5 and 3 years with the Ukrainian Institute, I would say, and we're working hand in hand with the Diplomatic Academy named after Hennady Udovenko that works under the framework of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to establish the best practices for public diplomacy and not cultural diplomacy. So for me, for a person who is not a practitioner or who's not a practitioner, public diplomats or cultural diplomats, I will not be able to tell you in the best way, in a scientific way or theoretical or practical ways, to explain you what are the differences between public diplomacy and cultural diplomacy. The only difference that I might say is that the cultural diplomacy is something that is closer to culture and history, the past of the country, the past and past experiences that helps us to form the future through the current times. But the public diplomacy possible, even though I think we have multiple speakers who will be able to professionally define this difference between the public and cultural diplomacies, and maybe they will prove me wrong by saying that public diplomacy is actually speaking on the actions and speaking about, maybe not in that detailed rethinking or reviewing of the events of the past, or not just forecasting the events of the future, but this is mostly about the commenting about the current events and state of current affairs. I think that the difference between the cultural and public diplomacy is mostly that the public diplomacy is more about being more practical. It has more of the utilitarian use. So basically, it is mostly used for promoting the interests of the states. But the cultural diplomacy is something that engages people, the thinking people, to dialogue, to broader dialogue, to multi-dialogue. And maybe in this sense, cultural diplomacy is a better representation for the soft power than the public diplomacy is, that sometimes is connected to the work of the embassies and official work of the official institutions of different countries all over the world. Of course, me being not a professional on cultural or public diplomacies, I can only wish to have the best of successes for our joint event today. I would like to wish all of the successes for the Ukrainian Institute. And we are considering that as well on a daily basis. We're thinking about it all the time. We are thinking about that in the framework of the support for the programs, with the support of the U.S. Embassy. We are really caring about the Ukrainian Institute because we understand that your institution, it has been created. It might have some competitors, but we would like to believe that it's not about the competition. And we would like to believe that the strong cultural diplomacy of Ukraine will not be built in the competition between different Ukrainian institutions, but in the confluences, in collaboration, in the coherence of those institutions, state institutions, partly public institutions, and non-governmental institutions, in the synergy. Because in the end, public diplomacy and cultural diplomacies, they are providing the message of what Ukraine is, who Ukrainians are. It should send this message, and that should help you to communicate with other people and culture, not just the states. So I wish you all the best successes. Thank you very much, and thank you very much for the invitation to take part in today's event. Thank you. Thank you very much for the warm welcoming, and I would like to say that our first keynote speaker is going to be mentioning the differences between the cultural and public diplomacy. So this is something that we're going to discuss today as well. And I would like to pass the floor to Tetyana Filevska, the Acting Director or General for Ukrainian Institute. Good day, ladies and gentlemen. For this year, we have acknowledged the first important date for Ukrainian Institute. We had already celebrated the 3 years of our work. We have been more or less recently created, and its establishment gives us the clearer understanding of how we have changed the understanding of how the humanity policies and the image of Ukraine is built in our state. As a state, we now have reached this level to understand that culture is a component of the national security and defense, and we need to have the resources to implement this understanding, both practical dimensions and then the strategical politics decision. And as the ministers of foreign affairs have said, that in the times of the hybrid wars, the culture becomes the issues of the security and defense. So the humanities issues, the colonization of culture, working with misinformation are going to be the main topics for the discussion during the forum. The International Cultural Diplomacy Forum that we have been organizing for the second time already, together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, is that kind of a platform for discussions on the level of policies, practice, for journalists, experts, and for the cultural actors, to discuss the issues that are at the global agenda, the questions that should be and can be solved with the support of the cultural diplomacy tools. We can offer the resolutions that will be relevant for all over the world, to find our own voice, to act proactively, and to become to create the international standing, the agenda for Ukraine. This is one of the important issues in the mission of Ukrainian institutes. In what way the cultural diplomacy should work with the global challenges? What are the global processes that we should understand and should consider in the times of cultural diplomacy? What are the opportunities that Ukraine has in this account? And what are the opportunities that we can offer for the international agenda? These are the topics that are going to be discussed in the first part of our events. The diversity of voices, inclusivity, readiness to discuss challenging topics are some of the answers to those questions. And that is why among the topics that we're going to be discussing today is the role of culture in international collaboration on protecting human rights under conflicts and gender equality in international cultural zones. Even though we are just beginning our path, and we will be able to see the big changes only in some broader time span. But today already we can see how the international interest towards Ukraine is growing and how the collaboration in cultural sector is being increased between Ukraine and other states. And those results are very great for us. We are stopping to provide only the singular interventions. We're starting to have a bigger, broader plan and to creating multi-layered projects. We have a lot of ambitious challenges in front of us, and we have to take them. But we believe that this forum is an important platform for the discussion of the future of the cultural diplomacy. I'm really grateful to all of the people who have joined us today, both offline and online. I'm really grateful to all of our speakers, our partners, the team of Ukrainian Institute, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, and all of our audiences.